Welcome to today's video where I'm going to be talking about the Space Chemistry palette from Terra. Yes, an eyeshadow palette. We haven't seen one since the Cosmic Wanderer palette, which came out 2021, 2022, I think around there sometime. So I'm excited to see a palette from them. And Terra did send me this palette, so thank you so much to Terra for sending it over to me. I think it's a really cool theme and design of the palette. And inside you have mostly stunning shimmer shades and then two mattes. I was definitely a little bummed out by the choice of the two mattes because they're pretty similar. They're different tones of browns, but they're very mid-tone browns, and I definitely think that there's some depth missing. I do think it's a good idea to have neutral mattes with sparkly shimmer shades because that way you can just really easily put a look together. I would have loved to see like this bottom row be just all neutrals with tons of depth. I think that would have made this palette even more versatile. Now I would say there's about two different kinds of Terra formulas in here. You've got your extra sparkly, beautiful formula from them, but you also have some more not quite satin-like, definitely like a way more amped up satin. They have just like a really beautiful, smooth formula. None of these are their flaky formula, and I will be showing you individual swatches of each of the shades so you can really get an idea on the textures and the dimension. There are 4 multi-chromes and then a couple of duochromes and then just some kind of more regular standard shimmers. The palette does retail for $75, which is on par with a lot of brands that have been releasing predominantly shimmer palettes, and these are full-size pans. I'm also going to be showing you some swatch comparisons, and then I'll be creating these two looks that you see that I have on right now. So let's get right into the video. So I want to do a neutral look on this eye, and I'm just priming with the Pat McGrath eyeshadow primer. Picked up a Terra form, and I'm just going to put that right into the crease, and then start blending it under as well, and then feathering out the edges. So not adding any more product, just whatever is already on my lid. Oh my god, can you not? What the fuck? Going over the edges using the specular eyeshadow tacky primer from Devinah. I'm gonna pop that all over the lid, and then I picked up Solarium. Oh, that's such a perfect neutral, beautiful, very sparkly shade, and I'm just gonna put that essentially in the center of my lid and a little bit feathering it out onto the outer portion. And then in the inner corner, going in with Light Particle and just popping that in there. That is so stunning together. Definitely brought a bit of brightness in here. And I'm going to take just a little bit more Terraform underneath the lash line. And here's the first finished look. For the second look, I'm going to be bringing in the Alara single from Terra, which when you order this palette, you can leave a note if you want to switch out one of the mattes. So I'm just going to put that into my crease essentially, and again I primed with the Pat McGrath eyeshadow primer. And it's just going to go right into the crease similarly to the other eye. And then I'm just slowly blending it outwards. Taking just a little bit more, especially on this outer corner. And bringing it underneath my lower lash line. And just taking it out as well out here. And then I think I'm going to actually bring in another shade. The shade Triangulum, which is just a really dark blue. I'm just going to take this very lightly, just tap it on this outer corner. Just a little bit more depth out here. Bring it just a little bit underneath the lower lash line as well. But I really just want the tiniest bit that I started off with, just on the edges of that. Further blending this out. And for the shimmer, again, I'm going to put down the shimmer primer. You do not have to use a glitter primer. For sure, I would definitely at least recommend you do mist the brush just to help pick these up, or use your finger. You might get fallout. Some of them are a little bit more sparkly than the other shades. Some of them are smoother. Some of them are a little less kind of piecey. And I'm going to go in with Ionic Bond. And I'm just going to pop that right out here. Oh, that is so beautiful. So bright. Very shiny, but this is one of the smoothest. But this is like a smooth shade versus Solarium was a little bit extra sparkly. And then I really I think I want to take Wavelength, and that's going to go right onto the inner lid. Just like right up here. Just a little bit more. This one is also just a tiny bit flakier. And I'm going to use that as my inner corner highlight as well. And here's the second finished look. So I feel like I've already given you some of my thoughts in the beginning of the video in terms of like the color story, which, you know, it's mostly shimmers. I definitely think, like I said, I wish there was at least one deepening up matte shade. I do not mind that it's neutrals. I just feel like that makes it very approachable for a lot of people, especially with some more colorful shades like this beautiful aqua and the lime green. The mattes are pigmented. There is quite a bit of kick up, which is very much the Terra Moods formula, and you can ask to have one of the mattes switched out, so you can add like a pop of a colorful matte in here as well to spice it up a little bit. And of course, these are magnetic removable pans, so you can create your own BYOBs in this palette, in your own palette, etc. So let's talk about the shimmers. I have a lot of experience with Terra Moods shimmer shadows. I have pretty much all of them, if not most of them, probably I would say around 90% of their shadows. So I know what kind of textures they have to offer. And I have to say, I think I could tell their formula from others. I just feel like they have a very particular formula, especially the extra sparkly shades like Moonwater, Abyss, Wavelength, Solarium, Atmosphere, and Luminite, and Light Particle. I think those are the most sparkly. They're almost a little bit piecey. Some of them are a little bit on the sheerer side. Some of them are a little bit more opaque like Abyss. And then Solarium and Atmosphere are just really beautiful, dimensional, more neutral leaning shades. I love those kinds of shades, especially from Terra Moons. And I think you can kind of see it from just looking at the pan, at the different textures. And then Iconic Bond, Sweet, Atoms, and Retrograde are a little bit more similar to their satin formula, which is less shiny than these. So these are kind of like an amped up version of their satins. So they're really smooth on the lid, and I think these all apply really nicely with a brush, but I do have some fallout with some of the more sparkly shades, so I always use some sort of a tacky primer with these. But if you don't have hooded eyes, if you have deep set eyes, then you can definitely just put these on, dampen your brush, use your finger, etc. But I would recommend a tacky primer if you do have hooded lids. Now, I do think that $75 is a lot for this palette. If you don't have anything from Terra Moons, if you don't have a lot of multi-chrome shades, I do think this is a good intro into some more special shadows, different formulas, especially from Terra Moons. And I don't think you can use any coupon codes on the palette. I do have a non-affiliated code which will give you 15% off on their website, but I do believe it does not work on the palette. So of course it is totally up to you if you feel like this will add something to your collection, if you feel like it's worth it. I can't tell you that. I can only present you with information to help you make the best decision on if you want to spend your money on this palette or if you don't. And with that being said, let me know in the comments below if you plan on picking this palette up, or if you already picked it up and you're waiting for it to arrive. And if you already have it, what are your thoughts on it? And that's everything for this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.